I grew up with low self-esteem. Was me and my mama, just us in the trauma. Hands up if you know what I mean. I see you, I feel you. I want you to know that you're not alone. I know what it's like not to have a home. Like walking barefoot up a gravel road. The pain gon' make you unstoppable. Now audible. Feel like I live in the end zone. I'm the one leading the drives. The crew riding round in a benzo. Red carpets when we arrive. I'll be in charge of my own fate. Left the excuses behind. Now I'm the illest violinist alive. I took the pain and I thrive. But look at me now. I used to crash on the couch. Now I got cash in the bank. Look at me now. She didn't want me around. Now she begging me to stay. Look at me now. Nobody knew who I was. Now everyone's screaming my name. Look at me now. I couldn't look at myself. Now I see the mirror and say, look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. I wonder if I made you cry.
Following dreams like your favorite content creator. I promised my mama I'll make it. That woman the queen. The grind of my father been embedded in me since I was a teen. Mashallah, I mean, that's what they say to me now. What you expect from the boy? I pop on their feed. They all wanna hate on me now. Why you disrespecting the boy? That's just confirmation that I'ma win. The beat getting beat up, I'm violent. I'm smooth like I'm C on the violin. I try, if I fail, I'ma try again. No denying it. I know I was built for this. I would die, I would kill for this. I showed them 1,000 times I'm about this life. I don't know how they still forget.
Hi there, this is Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do, and it's your old pal Jake, with a frog in his throat. We got a couple of fun ones today. We're going to talk towards the end here about how you can deprogram MAGA family members, or people in your community who are just lost in that far-right nonsense. And leading into that, I got a couple of really fun videos. Coming up first here, a federal judge has offered a preview of the legal arguments you're going to hear, more likely the legal rulings you're going to hear from judges, regarding the fact that a lot of J6ers are saying they must be innocent because Trump told them to go do it. A lot of people have gone to prison already over January 6th and their actions therein. But it's a worthwhile argument to look into, because one might think, looking at it in broad strokes, either these people are guilty or Trump is guilty, and the reality is both can be true and in fact are true. Yeah, let's get right to this video.
For the first time, a federal judge has cited the House January the 6th Committee's final report since it was made public last week, indicating that then-President Donald Trump's remarks on January the 6th of 2021, telling a crowd to, quote, fight like hell before the Capitol attack, may suggest Trump was asking them to break the law. In a court order in the case against January 6th defendant Alexander Shepard, U.S. District Judge John Bates ruled that Shepard could not raise the so-called public authority defense at trial.
Okay, so public authority defense, the defendant there, a J6 rioter, is saying, look, POTUS said to go do this, and then I went and did it. He's appealing to authority, and this is going to be real important to know later on when I'm talking about how to deprogram MAGA. These people, I did an earlier video on levels of maturity, essentially, stages of development. People who are stuck in the MAGA zone appeal to authority like crazy. That is more or less the only tools they have for deciding whether something is right or wrong, or rather for making an argument about whether something is right or wrong, is just how much authority does the person have that said to go do it. For the rest of this video, because it is very corporate media we're looking at, think of this analogy. Imagine your boss at work told you a bank is open right now. The doors to the bank are physically open. I want you to run in there and grab all the money out of the vault. The vault's open too. Just rush in, grab it all. And then you go to court for this because you are tackled by security with the fistfuls of money in your hands. You're arrested. You go to court, and your boss eventually also goes to court. It's America. He's wealthier than you. It takes longer. But you say, well, my boss told me to do it. The judge will essentially say what I believe they're going to, or what it does look like the judge said here, which is, yeah, what the judge told you to do was illegal. What your boss told you to do is illegal. That means you broke the law and your boss broke the law. Let's hear the rest of what they have to say.
After his lawyer argued Trump had authorized his client's actions at the Capitol that day, Judge Bates, a George W. Bush appointee, rejected the defense, writing that Trump did not tell the crowd that entering the Capitol or impeding the certification of the electoral vote was lawful. In a footnote, Judge Bates noted that his ruling was not out of step with the January the 6th committee's final report, which concluded that Trump acted, quote, corruptly because he knew stopping the certification was unlawful. Joining us now, NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley. Ryan, unpack this for us, because it's a little complicated for people to follow. Certainly for me to follow anyway.
Let's
Yeah, so essentially the public authority defense has been, it's come up in history before.
I just want to say, I don't know why they've selected apparently a college freshman to talk about this, or why he chose to wear eyeliner for the interview.
But essentially what it means is that someone in the authority to do so was telling you that something was legal. So, take an example of this. If you were told that, okay, you can't protest here, but you can go protest in that park across the street, and then, you were arrested for that after you were instructed to do that. It's essentially an entrapment defense, or telling you something that was legal that wasn't. So, it came up in regards before with a break into a psychiatrist's office, in regards to the Pentagon Papers historically. It's been raised in numerous issues where essentially the argument is that someone with authority in the executive branch perhaps instructed you that you were able to do something and you relied upon that this behavior wasn't criminal.
Okay, I hate how they do that. He's like, let me just pack my pipe. It happened historically with the Pentagon Papers. What average person knows what the F he's talking about? That is very annoying. I think he is being smarmy to try to impress his friends, and look like a fancy Dan. You're not a fancy Dan, guy in a dorm room. You're just not. That said, he is factually correct.
Now, essentially what this ruling says is that Donald Trump never explicitly said that to defendants. He never said that storming the Capitol is now legal. We won't prosecute you, right? If he had said something like that, this would be a much more different case. But, he wasn't that over the top with his language. But the judge also doesn't sort of let, I think, Trump off the hook with responsibility for what he did say, and sort of indicates that there's a suggestion in Trump's speech, despite his language, that he wants them to do more than just go over and, hold up a sign outside the barriers that had been set up around the Capitol.
Also essentially saying, yeah, we're not idiots. You had 10,000 people, you sent them to the Capitol, you said what you said. Just because you didn't have the balls to say, go in there and hang my vice president and yada, yada, yada. The message that he was delivering was crystal clear. And I'll tell you, those of us who were watching it live more or less all had the same reaction, which is, Jesus Christ, he's doing a coup.
Because that's certainly, I think, like what a lot of people have read into that, right? Fight like hell doesn't sound like go there and hold up your sign outside the barriers. Boom. And shucks, if we don't stop the steal, quote unquote, then we're just all going to pack up and go home. That's not really what Donald Trump seemed to be suggesting in this in his speech. But he wasn't. I want to make it clear.
Oh yeah, let's keep it with that supervillain up there. Every single one of those would have fought for the Confederacy. If you ever wonder what would I have been like, what would people have been like in X era or Y era, every one of those would have been Reb scum. By the way, John Brown did nothing wrong. Neither did General Sherman.
About in regards to this case, he wasn't explicit about saying that this is now legal. You can do this. You can shatter windows. You can break into the Capitol and chase lawmakers off the floor of the Senate and the House.
So, Ryan, talk to us a little bit about the template or precedent this might set going forward. There are still a lot of January 6 trials to come. And also talk to us about the significance that we were talking about this morning about how the January 6th committee report has been cited now in legal proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, the Proud Boys trial is the one that I'm really watching for because they're doing jury selection for that right now, and there were a number of these transcripts that they've come out that are related to that. So I think that it's definitely going to have an impact in terms of the transcripts as well as the report in general. I think that the judge just wanted to sort of make sure that and remember he's a Bush-appointed judge, wanted to make sure that he wasn't saying that this isn't true, right? He wasn't knocking down what the committee had said, and the committee's report essentially said that Donald Trump had this intent. Now that's it's much different for Congress to say that in a report than it is for prosecutors to go forward and.
Very, very true. And this guy is making sharp points even if I don't like his delivery. I think that dude is actually in prison right now. Thank God. If only for the fact that he can't figure out how a shirt works. Yeah, it is important to lay down that the details here are important. Okay, let me try that again. It is important to lay down the fact that even though one person has partial responsibility for something, that doesn't mean another person is cleared of their responsibility for it. And it's important that they're bringing up the fact that it is another Republican-appointed judge that is saying this. Now, we do need to not rely on that like it's such a crutch. A Democrat-appointed judge, their legal ruling would have no less weight. You just need to see, I think, that, the average person just needs to see that this is not really a matter of, this is not at all a matter of political opinion. It simply is the law.
We should, definitely note that it's still a very challenging case that would be really unprecedented were the Justice Department to go forward with some sort of charges against Donald Trump in connection with January 6th. It's just not an easy layup. There's no really obvious criminal statute that applies to this conduct, especially with the First Amendment considerations. You would have to take into consideration if you were talking about, say, if he was, if you wanted to charge him with incitement. Incitement is one of those really difficult areas where a lot of these cases in terms of incitement have really run into some legal challenges during the appeals process just because there are such First Amendment barriers. And a lot of what Donald Trump said during that speech is, pretty thoroughly protected by the First Amendment. But, I do think that it just shows that the January 6th committee's report is having an impact on this process. It's certainly something that the Justice Department is going to be sort of bringing into their prosecution, as well as judges, I think are, they're certainly reading through this themselves and recognize that the broader scope of what's happening with the January 6th committee and their final report here. And, the thing I'm kind of wondering about is we were promised a lot of transcripts, and we only have a few more days left before they do. Right now, I think they've released about a little bit over 100 transcripts, but really we've got a lot more transcripts to come, some of which could have really big implications on some of these ongoing cases and ongoing trials, as we have about 900 right now, but the total scope of this could ultimately be 3,000, especially with the new resources that are being brought in as a result of the omnibus bill.
Fair point from this gentleman. Ooh, let's go back here. So why don't we have all the transcripts yet? This is because the J6 committee knows how Republican crimes are generally covered up. Some of them are beneficiaries of it. Liz Cheney, her father, had his crimes covered up in this manner, and that is by waiting out the American people. What tends to happen is, and I've gone over this in a couple of other videos. I highly recommend you check them out. Did one yesterday on it. The Justice Department will let time pass. They will come out with an announcement, and they'll say, we are looking into this. Then they'll let 6 months pass, a year pass, and always with their updates saying, well, this is a complicated thing. It's a very serious matter. It's a very grave matter. We have to look into this. And then, when some other large piece of news is about to come out that will help cover it up, or just when they feel like America is sufficiently sick of hearing about it, they'll do a quick press conference where they say, no charges, all right, we got to go by. Or they'll say, we found some person that was sort of kind of connected to it, and we've charged them, and they're going to be the fall guy. So goodbye. I believe that's essentially what they were trying to do with January 6th. All these, they used to brag a lot more, the Justice Department, about catching these small fries, these easily duped rioters who actually did the hands-on dirty work. And they were putting out like statistics, like we've caught 300 people of the 10,000 or whatever. And they kind of stopped doing that once the J6 committee got going proper, once they had their first televised day of hearings, because it made it so clear that they were going after everybody except the powerful people. And it was a huge embarrassment for the Justice Department. So the J6 committee, being very savvy, they're releasing their transcripts. They're stretching this out as long as they can to keep it in the public consciousness for as long as they can. But they're shutting down. I mean, we lost the House. Thank you, New York Democrats, for that. Which means we're not going to be able to keep the J6 committee going. So they are releasing their transcripts so that news media can focus on one major breakthrough at a time, and that it stays in the public consciousness for as long as possible. But as I have said previously, those days are ending. So it's going to be on you watching, me, everyone around us, to keep the pressure on Merrick Garland and let him know that we didn't forget about this. Let's do that in and of itself could be a palate cleanser, because man, the fact that a judge is holding both his J6 person he's in charge of judging and Trump accountable in writing in a court filing is delightful. But nonetheless, let's go to a wonderful video by TYT Investigates. If you're not familiar, the Young Turks have a division of their company that does various investigations, various indie videos, and some of them are just golden. This is one on Kyrsten Sinema. If you're not familiar with this lady, she got elected as a Democrat and then tried the Republican playbook, which is to say just raiding the pantry of America on behalf of corporations. The result is, however, that she has misjudged her constituents. She's misjudged Democrats who actually care about getting things done. She is not well liked, and here is a supercut of people finally being fed up with her. It's delightful.
Miss Sinema. No.
I share the disappointment of many that we've not found more support on the other side of the aisle for legislative responses to state-level voting restrictions. I wish that were not the case.
Overnight, Voto Latino, a nonprofit aimed at helping young Hispanic and Latino voters, launched the Audio Cinema campaign.
I think she's tilted too far to the right.
I hope she doesn't really screw things up.
The day after Election Day, Senator Kyrsten Sinema tweeted for voters to stay patient as votes are counted, stating, quote, democracy is worth the wait, to which you replied, quote, thanks for all of your help this year. What do you hope Senator Sinema learned from this year's midterms?
I don't think she'll learn. Look, this year, the reason Democrats won is because we fought together as a party. I was out there campaigning for every Democrat in Arizona. I was personally donating money, raising money for them, for our senators, for everyone up and down the ticket. We fought as a team in Arizona, and we won. Senator Sinema was nowhere to be found at all. You did not see her at one public event for anybody.
At the end of the day,
ooh, what do you got, Ms. Cortez?
you have two Democratic senators that just don't believe
Sinema and
in governance. I mean, you literally had Senator Kyrsten Sinema that said she doesn't believe that D.C. is going to have a solution to this. Girl, what? This is literally what we're sent here to do.
Yeah.
In June should be a month of action on Capitol Hill. I hear all the folks on TV saying, why doesn't Biden get this done? Well, because Biden only has a majority of effectively 4 votes in the House and a tie in the Senate, with 2 members of the Senate who vote more with my Republican friends. But we're not giving up. Earlier this year, the House of Representatives passed For the People Act to protect our democracy. The Senate will take it up later this month, and I'm going to fight like heck with every tool at my disposal for its passage.
Does she have the guts to take on powerful special
my man
interests?
Bernie.
No, she doesn't. She is a corporate Democrat who has, in fact, along with Senator Manchin, sabotaged enormously important legislation. The Democrats there are not all that enthusiastic about somebody who helped sabotage some of the most important legislation that protects the interest of working families and voting rights and so forth.
What do you think of her decision and also
Manchin
what you just
Sinema
heard in her
are the
interview
worst.
with Jake?
I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Senator Sinema. She has her reasons.
Fair enough.
Donna, I happen to suspect that it's probably a lot to do with politics back in Arizona.
Would you support a Democratic opponent
primary
against Senator Sinema?
I support progressive candidates all over this country, people who have the guts to take on powerful special interests. I don't know what's going to be happening in Arizona. We'll see who they nominate, but certainly that's something I will take a hard look at.
Jamal Bowman tweeted the following: "Bye, Felicia," after news broke about Sinema.
You know, I think that in Arizona, this is going to be a difficult election if it's a 3-way race. But I really think that I have a lot of faith in the voters of Arizona to understand who is going to vote, who is going to work for them, and let's see what the next 2 years bring.
And when we have some of these races that are really in the mix right now, she could have been a very good surrogate to help out a lot of our candidates, and she did nothing because she only cares about herself. She doesn't care about how this would help us take control of the Senate. She actually predicted that we'd lose control of the Senate in front of Mitch McConnell while she was getting an award from him. So,
yeah, man, I don't have a ton to say about Kyrsten Sinema. I always say her name, Kyrsten Sinema, but other than can't get rid of her fast enough. I'm glad she's no longer, to my knowledge, going to be a drain on Democrat resources. Odds are, though, I don't think she's running again. I think her plan is, I don't know, get a job on Fox News, go the Gabbard route. A lot of fake Democrats basically are trying to do it. What's a fake Democrat? Just somebody that signs up for the Democratic Party because they think they can use it to get ahead in life, but not because they are interested in democratic policy. Can't wait for her to be gone. Looks like the general feeling is the same throughout the Democratic Party. Delighted to hear that. Glad to hear Bernie letting her have it. Glad to hear Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez letting her have it. Glad to hear Biden, who is normally your stereotypical go along to get along Democrat, conservative Democrat, actually being forthright about who she is. She is of no use to anyone except corporate donors. So most likely her future will involve being a lobbyist or a Fox News host. Either way, she will continue to work against the interests of America. Hey, folks, guess what? Trump's having a breakdown right now, and it's delightful to watch. And I thought this would be a great way to show you how you can address common MAGA talking points in a way that will have a long-term effect of deprogramming MAGA weirdos. I've never hidden my feelings about who the right-wingers of this country are. They're bad people. Their souls are wrong. And more importantly, they're dummies. They are so incredibly gullible and dumb. And if that's your family I'm talking about, first of all, I'm sorry that that's your family, not that I said it. I stand by it. But I am calling your family dumb. Trump is treating them like they're dumb. What Trump is doing is more of an insult. So let's look at what he has to say, his this last day of Truth Social insanity, so you don't have to have a Truth Social account yourself. And let's use this as a jumping off point for how you can deprogram, because there's a few basic questions. You yourself don't actually have to know very much about politics. You can just ask a couple basic questions, and you'll be good to go. Start with this here, just to show you the direction things are headed in. Oh, it's delightful. Here's Trump posting an article about a coming split predicted for the Republican Party. Oh boy, they already had to gerrymander to survive. They already had to make more power out of less people by dividing up districts in an unfair manner. If they split and they're fighting each other, there is no better news for a voter who is interested in America's, survival. This is just Trump leaning into that. I think he's taken the temperature, and he understands that he is not long-term going to be welcome in the Republican Party or any sane political party. Well, the Republican Party was never sane, but in any political party that intends to function for very long. He's promoting it. That's great. If he were a smarter man, he would know we're so far out from elections he could just do nothing for a couple of years and people would have forgotten about all the horror and then he could try again. But he's not a smart man, and so he is promoting the split in the Republican Party. It just doesn't get better than that. But that's not deprogramming. Let's get to deprogramming. It has been learned, he says, that the FBI office that is investigating Hunter Biden, let me just say it up front so I don't have to pause every single time. This guy doesn't know how typing works. He doesn't know how the English language works. It's astounding to see, frankly. It has just been learned that the FBI office that is investigating Hunter Biden sent many censorship requests to keep all of his bad news confidential just prior to the 2020 election. In other words, the exact same people that were investigating him were making sure that he doesn't get any bad publicity. Only good publicity, please. This is an outrageous disgrace, and the same group that is after me on the Boxes hoax, the January 6th Unselect Committee hoax, how's that a hoax, and the many past hoaxes and scams. Okay. So your family member says all of that nonsense because he saw that Trump said it, he memorized it, and he repeats that to you. Or she, God help you, if it's your mother, repeats that to you. It has just been learned, let's start with the top, that the FBI office that is investigating Hunter Biden sent many censorship requests to keep all of his bad news confidential prior to the 2020 election. Just ask questions. How was it learned? Who said that? Trump just said it. He just said that he found this out. Did he say where he heard it from? No, he did not. That, first thing, is nonsense. all of it's nonsense. But you pause them and you say, where was it learned? Who said this? They will not be able to answer that question. If something sounds like a dramatic big reveal, just ask for the receipts. Now, you will not have convinced them in that moment, but you'll make them feel silly in that moment. That is the beginning of it. Because they will, the next time Trump says something like this, when they are looking for what they are going to shout at their family members to try to get them to join the dark side, or when they're looking for how they're going to justify their insane beliefs, they'll look for the where it came from. And they will note that it's not there. You keep asking them for the receipts, and they'll keep looking for the receipts, and they will never be able to find them. Let's keep this going. In other words, the exact same people that were investigating him, I don't know why that's in quotes, were making sure that he doesn't get any bad publicity. Again, it falls into the, where did you hear this? It has just been learned. From where? This is an outrageous disgrace in the same group. Okay, let's look at post shortly thereafter. Something is going on with Mitch McConnell and all the terrible, virtually automatic surrenders he makes to the Marxist Democrats. Pause, family member. Real quick, what's a Marxist? You yourself don't even have to know what a Marxist is. You just ask them, what is a Marxist? They will inevitably say, when they hear that Trump called Democrats Marxist Democrats, or a group of Democrats Marxist Democrats, they will repeat that, because, I'm sorry, they're dummies. Just ask them what a Marxist is, and be silent while they struggle. Just, they believe that black people are getting, stepped on by police. They're Marxists. They're crazy left-wingers. What is Marxism? What is a Marxist Democrat? Just hang out in that awkward moment. There is an expression called tough love. This is what it will look like. Allow them to suffer in their ignorance. It is ultimately good for them. If you love them, you got to do it. What is a Marxist? Can't answer. It's going to be very awkward. If when the time comes that they want to move on and get to this next part, do so, but acknowledge that they don't know what a Marxist is. Whatever, I don't care about that. It's this ominous bill. Okay, you just called someone a Marxist and you don't know what it is, but all right, moving on. This the omnibus bill, very well. Could have killed it using. I always want to do the voice, using the debt ceiling, or made it much better in the Republican House. Nobody can be this stupid. Perhaps it has to do with his wife Coco Chow and their big relationships with China. A historic conflict of interest like no other. Here's the thing. He dots lies with a bit o' truth. Mitch McConnell has a ton of conflicts of interest. But you don't have to know that. You don't even have to know this little factoid, which is the answer to his question. Why did they let that go through? They let that go through because then the pressure is off them to actually get the country moving. That was a necessary bill that funded our country. And without it, if they would have stalled it, then the Republicans would have had to come up with one. And they say they are against so many things that they couldn't actually run the country while doing what they said they would do. So Mitch McConnell, being a much smarter man than Trump, not a good man, but a smarter man than Trump, of course he let it go through. Why on earth would he want to expose the fact that he is working against the country's interests, that he has no interest in governance of any sort, that his party would be a disaster if they actually tried to put one of these together. And we know this because we just saw them do this. We've every time Republicans are in control, the country gets worse. Without fail. They make decisions that are bad. And they know it. Mitch McConnell is smart enough to know it. Trump, I don't know that he's that smart is a word I would ever use for him. But to him, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. He's just looking to throw trash around and make a lot of noise because that's his thing. He's a noisemaker. You don't have to know this. You don't have to know any of that to just disassemble this sort of ranting from your far-right extremist loved ones, if you have them, or from the people in your community that are extremists. You simply have to ask, what was in the bill that you didn't like? Feel that awkward silence? Wait. You didn't like the $1.7 trillion bill. What didn't you like in it? They will either have no answer or they will have listened to a podcast that gave them one thing that exists in it that they theoretically hate. And when they name that one thing, ask what that does. The silence will be embarrassing for both of you, but you got to just stand through it. What didn't you like in the omnibus bill? It's crazy corporate it's crazy big government spending. It's too much. But within it, what didn't you like them spending money on? You're not going to have an answer. Let's look at this next one. This is a little piece of internet gold. Trump is going to be made fun of this, I promise you. When corporate media does eventually get around to seeing this little gem, he's going to get slaughtered for being an idiot. If this is what I think it is. Full disclosure, this is one of those things that's so dumb where I'm like, I must be misreading this. I must not be fully understanding this. Was just advised that the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, capital T, what a moron, has withdrawn its subpoena of me concerning the January 6th protest of the crooked 2020 presidential election. Again, capitalized. They probably did so because, this is amazing, they probably did so because they knew I did nothing wrong or they were about to lose in court. Perhaps the FBI's involvement in rigging, all capital letters, the election, capital E, played into their decision. In any event, the subpoena is dead. Okay, folks, what did I tell you earlier? The J6 committee is over. They've ended their business. They came out with their report. They asked Trump, the guy at the center of all of this, to come and speak to them on the record, under oath. Being a criminal and a coward, he refused. So they subpoenaed him. Said, come on. Now we're saying officially through the court, you got to come talk to us. We made a request. This is a legal request for you to come talk to us. He did not. So they've withdrawn their subpoena. Why? Because it's over. They are informing the court, hi, we're done now. We've put out our recommendations. By the way, it was that this guy go to fucking prison. The subpoena is now irrelevant. So, in other words, this guy's running into the end zone and spiking the ball, but it's after the other team went home, the fans went home, they shut the lights off in the stadium. Why is he bragging about the subpoena being dead? Oi, all you have to do to disassemble these idiots is just listen to what they say with a critical mind. Why did the J6 committee withdraw their subpoena? Because the J6 committee's going home. They already got him. All right. last one from Trump here. So if the FBI illegally suppressed all of the really bad information on the Biden family laptop at the level never seen before, it was Russian disinformation, they said. Pause right there. So the FBI told him he was getting Russian disinformation. And he's like, oh, so these people want us to believe it's Russian disinformation. Yeah. That's why they told you it's Russian disinformation. You big dummy. Well, at the same time, not letting the many positive things accomplished by Trump, why in quotes, get out to the public, but would instead put out bad stuff, also in quotes. You're using slang. You don't need to put that in. All right. That would be the very definition of the government's rigging of an election. Pollsters projected this scam made a difference of millions of votes. What are the consequences? Okay, first of all, before we get into the especially fun bit where you can start testing your own skills here, what are the consequences? This man is projecting. He is sitting there wondering when the hell the cops are going to kick down his door and throw him in the back of a squad car. He's genuinely wondering when are the consequences coming. I'm sure he himself cannot believe what he's been allowed to get away with so far. Neither can I. And that is one of the few things we agree on, are the fact that we are flabbergasted that he is not in prison right now with prison-issued diapers and Valtrex or whatever else. So the FBI illegally suppressed, he says, all of the really bad information on the Biden family at a level never seen before. And then he says, well, at the same time, not letting the many positive things accomplished by Trump get out to the public. His supporters, who have no ability to critically think, will walk away from that, and when you are sitting around the dinner table, they'll say the FBI suppressed bad information about Biden and good information about Trump. The question you have to ask that person is, how does the FBI suppress good information about Trump? Why can't Trump just say, I did X or Y? Is the FBI in charge of press releases? Is the FBI in charge of your PR team? No, sir. No, they are not. It is not terribly hard to disassemble these talking points. And I recommend that you do. I recommend you don't just let your family members go further and further down these rabbit holes. And the way you deprogram them is to ask them for more information. They will be unable to provide it. Ask them where they got their information. You will never get anything except insane Trump social media accounts or Trump supporter social media accounts or freedomeagle.net/we're all terrorists. You will not see you'll see a lot of Nazis, but you won't see anything legitimate supporting them because they are liars. Which is why you don't have to know all this stuff to get into a battle with them. These are not advanced grifters. They rely on quantity, not quality. So you yourself don't have to be a political expert. You just say, how does the FBI suppress good information about Trump? You could also just use basic logic and say, what does Hunter Biden have to do with Joe Biden? Hunter Biden's an adult. Hunter Biden's not involved in politics. And they'll say, everybody's going after Jared and Ivanka. They had jobs that Trump gave them in the government, like a king handing out positions. The difference there is that they were involved in government. They were not talked about until they were involved in government. But even so, that's whataboutism as well. You don't even have to know that part, that they weren't talked about until they got jobs in government. You don't even have to know that they were in government. If your family member says, the other side did X, you say, I don't care what the other side did. I'm asking you, what does Hunter Biden have to do with Joe Biden? The answer is nothing. He's his kid. Kind of a bum, black sheep of the family. Okay. What is the relevance? Would that have affected your vote? It wouldn't have affected my vote. You don't judge people by their family members. Why? Because the family member ain't running. Joe Biden was running. That is how you deprogram them. Over time, they will be unable. They will lose their. It's not that they're going to suddenly believe that Democrats are right and Republicans are wrong, or that they have been going far right when they ought to go far left, even though that is the truth. Except for the Democrats being right part. That's not a fan of Democrats. Anyway, what will happen is they will get less satisfaction. They see those things. They see an authority figure saying those crazy things, and they think, yes, this is how I felt about politics. This is what I felt. And so my feelings are now justified. And they rush off and they can't wait to share that piece of information. But when you ask them simple questions like that, what does Hunter Biden have to do with this? How does the FBI suppress good information about Trump? So on and so forth. They won't get that little ping of pleasure the next time they see it. And this is how you deprogram them. Well, I have had a blast. Thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Jake, and this is Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. If you have questions about things that you would like to know what the solution for is, what you personally can do to make the world better, it is my goal to come up with those answers for you, to give you practical, workable solutions, and present them for you. So leave them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, give me a like. I sure would appreciate it. And a subscribe as well. I'd appreciate that too. I'll see you next time. I do usually a couple of videos a day, and it's got a pretty decent soundtrack. I'll see you next time.
I've been up since like 3 a.m. I don't hear the hate, what y'all say ain't in. All I know is go, all I know is grind. I'm on your head, all I know is climb. Just know I'm different. If I see the target, just know I'm gon' hit it. I don't know the fake, just know I live it. Anything I say, just know I'm in it. I know the ops and they lightweight. I'm in the zone and I might stay. Yeah, I'm on in the right way. Check the scoreboard, look what I play. They say sky the limit, that's too low for us. We showing up in the nosebleeds of the gap.